Our foster care system is shattered. And this podcast is about how we as a community can come together to bring about change in the system and changing the lives of children in foster care. Hi, my name is Rob Scheer. I'm the founder of a national charity called Comfort Cases. I'm an advocate for children in foster care. I'm a public speaker. I'm an author of A Forever Family. But most important, I'm a dad to 5 of the most amazing kids. Welcome to the Fostering Change podcast.
Well, everybody, it's another Tuesday, and it is time for Fostering Change. You know, this month is such an amazing month for so many different reasons. You know, for my family, for my husband and I, it's the month we celebrate Pride. We celebrate Pride every single month, but this month we really get to talk about it. You know, since my kids are very young, we have traveled the country and we have gone to many Pride festivals. And the reason that we take our children to Pride festivals is because we want our kids to see other families like them, you know, and we think it's really important. You know, I always have people come up to me and ask me, "Oh, what do you guys do about Father's Day? They have two dads." Well, guess what? They get the best of both worlds. We both get to celebrate Father's Day in our home. And so I'm so excited to have my friend Matthew Everett here. As you know, he is and correct me if I'm right with this, Matthew, but you're actually the co-creator and the executive producer of World of Dance. And I want to throw this out there with Jennifer Lopez on NBC.
That's right. Yes.
That is so amazing. And you're a father of 2.
That's correct. Yep.
Well,
very proud.
There's so many things I want to get into, but the first thing I want to talk about is being a dad. You know, for me, it was one of the greatest gifts to become a father. I will never forget the very first time my daughter looked at me, and my family was built a lot different than a lot of families. I built my family through foster care, and so my children arrived at a little older age, and so my daughter was about 5 when she looked at me and she said, "I want to call you Daddy." And I will never forget that moment. I remember where we were sitting. I remember what she was wearing. I remember that like if it was yesterday. And by the way, my sweet girl is going to be 17 in a couple of weeks. But I remember that moment. What was it like for you when you became a dad?
Yeah, I definitely. So I have 2 kids. My son, Ethan, is just finished his freshman year of high school, actually, and college. He's 15. And then my daughter just finished her first year of middle school. She's 12. And yeah, I was really excited to be a dad when Ethan was born. I remember thinking this is way more work than I had imagined. I couldn't possibly fathom how someone could have twins or triplets and be able to manage that, because it was challenging. You know, being a professional, someone who loves the work that I do, and you know, I put a lot of my heart into that, and you know, really enjoyed that. Still, being a dad is the ultimate joy and really the ultimate reward. And so, in fact, I think, you know, that's when I first reached out to you, was after I had seen the Dad's documentary, and just it was so touching, and hearing your story and others just really made me feel inspired as a dad and want to do more as a dad to help other dads and other parents kind of connect with their kids.
Yeah, you know, I do think that we need more of a platform for us to connect with our kids. You know, for me, I'm in my 50s. I'm going to be 55 this year, and we didn't have all the video games and all the things that disconnected us as parents to our parents. But now we see that more and more, where there's such a disconnect, and trying to do everything we can to how we can bring that back, which gets me into the question of the World of Dance. And I have to tell you, so Matthew, I have, as I 5 kids, and my oldest son is 20. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and then I have 2 boys that are 14. They're 3 months apart, and then I also have a 12-year-old, so I know what that's like. But over the weekend, my daughter came to me and she's like, "Dad, I'd like to have some of my girlfriends come over and swim and spend the night." And I was like, "Okay." And so, sure enough, these 3 girls come over. Well, let me tell you something. They were dancing like you would not believe, and they were like, "Dad, do you know how to dance?" And it was just like it made me think of you because I knew we were doing this interview, and so I proceeded to start dancing with my daughter, and I started realizing that even though we have so many things that are different, even some of the music that we listen to, which is different, there's still so much we have together when it comes to dance. Do you
Yeah.
notice that as well?
Yeah. And I think the platforms like TikTok have kind of normalized and made it easier for men and dads and people who otherwise were maybe more uncomfortable kind of coming out of their shell and dancing. It's been, something that has helped them connect with their kids because it's, that platform has been so popular. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, Jordan Matter, who's a really successful YouTuber and influencer, about dance and his platform and our platform a while back. And, the reality is in today's world, all of these kids are, they'll listen to us. They'll take their advice from us, but they're spending so much time listening to influencers on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and these other platforms. It's hard sometimes to compete with them. And so we've really been trying to think about how do we use these platforms to be able to connect with those kids. And, one way we have, kind of decided as a possible path is help the influencers share the messages that we think kids need to hear.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because you're exactly right. I mean, just last night, my 12-year-old came into the room and he was proceeding to tell Reese and I a story that he had heard on TikTok. Now, the story wasn't as accurate as I would have liked for it to have been, but it was truly showing me that that is where he's getting his news. That is where he's getting his current events. That's where he is learning what is truly going on within our world, our country, and within our state.
Yeah.
And I do believe that once you get to a level, even though I think all of us should lead by example, but there is a certain level that once you get to, that you have to realize that you are an influencer. And as an
Yeah.
influencer, you need to bring good to within our children because our
Yeah.
children are not going to, the thing gets me, they're not going to stop watching TikTok. Okay. It's not going to happen. They're not going to stop going on to Instagram. It's not going to happen. So I love your idea. What made you think about doing that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as a dad and wanting to help my kids grow up happy and healthy and to be able to thrive and trying to figure out how do you get through to them. I was actually having a conversation with my son just the other day, and he told me that he gets most of his news now from TikTok, which I had never heard from anyone. And it is pretty astounding just how much information they're getting from these social platforms. And so, number one, we need to make sure that we raise critical thinkers because they're getting so much information and they need to know how to distill truth from fiction and to be thinking critically about the information they're receiving. But two, we need to work with the influencers that are understanding how accountable they need to be to delivering positive and truthful messaging to help them deliver those messages. And I think platforms like World of Dance, where we're reaching a lot of kids, it's absolutely an opportunity to do those things. We also feel like it's an obligation. And those who have platforms and have influence, and I think there are a lot of young people who really realize that they do touch a lot of people and have the opportunity to either help to inspire and put a kid on a good path, or the opposite, and who really want to make sure that they're responsible. So for those that do feel that way, I think we got to find them, and we got to help them get the right message out there.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I do believe that there are some really good influencers out there who do truly do care. And they are concerned about how the message is delivered. And for you to say that, your son gets the majority of his news, my kids are the same exact way. I mean, if you were to poll my 5 children, all but one of them would say that the information that they obtain is through TikTok,
Yeah.
or some type of social media platform.
Yeah.
Which again, nobody's sitting down watching the 6 o'clock news with daddy. I mean, I back in the day when that was what was on the TV and everybody was there tuned in. We have to find a different way, and I love the fact that you're looking into that. So I've got to ask the question: have you ran that by Jennifer Lopez?
Not by Jennifer or her team, but we have been talking about this idea of how can we bring dads together with influencers to change lives for kids. And so I think that project is, for me, something I'm really passionate about. I actually started in conversations with Jordan about creating a book or some form of influential tech-enabled piece of literature that kids could hang up on a wall, or somewhere where they could use their phone and augmented reality and bring to life a photo of an influencer who has something fun to say, a dance to share, a message, to inspire. And then it kind of morphed into how can we, create a television format out of it. And so there's some interesting, discussions that we're having with a couple production companies about doing that. And hopefully, some point when the world kind of gets back to normal, we'll be able to put one of those into actual production.
Yeah, I will tell you, I love the idea. I remember when Bryce Howard came to us to do the Dads documentary. First of all, to have Bryce Howard come to you, as shocking as it is, but what she really wanted to do was tell the story of dads. She said, I remember her saying, Teresa and I, is that she just felt like everything was always about the mom, the mom, the mom, which is fine. But in 2020 or in 2019, when we actually filmed the show with Bryce, there were no shows out there when it came to talking about dads. And I think that people think that, we take such a back seat. And a lot of times, that is not the case. I mean, I can tell you in my family, not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. And first of all, I mean, that documentary was really, I think, amazing. And I think there aren't enough shows that are helping to make dads feel like being a dad is cool. It is, stay-at-home dads are cool. They have needs too, just like stay-at-home moms, and how do we support and nurture and encourage that, for sure. There's a conversation we've been having with a company that has a project that is about helping to get men to feel like they can be more forthcoming and open up more with other guys, and that's a good thing, and that we all need to do that. And so there are some great projects out there. I will say, when I asked my daughter, would she watch a show that was about dads doing, whatever, she said, no, probably not, Dad. So I thought, okay, well, the objective of this is to reach the kids. And so we have to figure out a way for dads to be a part of it, for families to enjoy being able to sit around the television and watching this, getting something out of it. But at the same time, the kids feeling like there's a hero there that they want to be able to learn from and be like. And it may be the dads in some episodes. It may not. It may, and I think that the connection to influencers, is
I think
one.
that's going to be the key to connect. But I will tell you, sitting around the TV and watching shows, one of the shows, and it just, that my family happens to watch, and we were sad when they stopped, was Modern Family. And that
Oh,
was
great
all
show.
because
Yeah.
my kids loved seeing the role of a stay-at-home dad. See,
Yes.
my husband is a stay-at-home dad, hardest job in the world. I have no idea how he does it. 5 kids in 5 different schools, and during the pandemic, I would say to him when I would come home from work is, I, my job ended, at 8 o'clock, and he's still doing laundry at 9 o'clock at night while I'm catching up with the mail and stuff. Listen, we're gonna take a quick break, Matthew, and come back because I definitely have some more questions. Listen, everybody, I cannot thank you all enough for tuning in to this season of Fostering Change. It has been an amazing journey. We have had some amazing guests on. The fact that this is Pride Month, it's Father's Day month. It's time to celebrate each and every one. And how you can celebrate us is by sharing our podcast. Whether you're listening to us on Apple or Google, or maybe you subscribed and you're actually watching us on your YouTube channel, we really would love for you to leave a comment. And if you happen to be a guest, or you know somebody that would want to be a guest on Fostering Change, you can always email me at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. We'll be right back.
This episode of Fostering Change is sponsored by Comfort Cases, a national nonprofit that is inspiring our communities to bring dignity and hope to youth in foster care. For just $10 a month, you can support the Comfort Cases mission to eliminate trash bags from the foster care system. For every $10 donated, a Comfort XL duffel bag will be given to a child entering foster care. Please help us be part of the change. Go to comfortcases.org and see how you can help a child entering our foster care system.
Well, welcome back to Fostering Change. And the first half has been so exciting. As I said, it is June and it's Father's Day month. And in our family, we don't just take one day. We take the whole entire month, except for the weekend of the 17th with
Great
our
idea.
beautiful daughter's birthday. So she gets an entire week. But other than that, my husband and I take all of that. I'm so happy to have my friend Matthew Everett here. He is the co-creator and executive producer of World of Dance with Jennifer Lopez on NBC. Now, pandemic's made a lot of changes for you, Matthew. Explain to me how, when this hit you in March, and started seeing things shutting down, how did you guys react?
Yeah, it was an interesting week. We were in the last week of filming for season 4. We were producing the majority of the in-game entertainment for the Dallas Mavericks. We had a big game it was March 14th on a Saturday, I remember. And so there's a lot of things happening that week. We were calling people because some people were saying, I don't know if I want to fly to Dallas for this game. And we were talking to NBC and production and what are we going to do? Are things going to shut down? And fortunately, we were able to finish production, although the last episode was filmed without a live audience, which is the first time that we'd ever done that. Very skeleton crew. The Dallas Mavericks had waited to see what would happen, and I think it was the Golden State Warriors were the first to say that they were planning to play in front of an empty arena, and then there were a couple NBA players who tested positive, and then the NBA season was basically put on hold, and so at that point, fortunately, we had finished production for season 4 of the television show, but all of our live entertainment, has been on hold since that day. And we have events in 25 countries, all on hold. Big tours that we do, all on hold. All the work we were doing, with the Dallas Mavericks and others, all on hold. And so that's been unfortunate. And I really think about everyone, not just in the dance industry, but in the events industry and hospitality and live entertainment, who have been, impacted really severely during this time. And I really hope that it seems like we're on the right track to getting better and getting things to open up again. But it's been a tough time for a lot of folks in those fields.
Yeah, I really worry about, the entertainment industry to me is such the heartbeat of our community. I was lucky. I was a kid that grew up where, you could take choir and you could take theater, and it was really such the heartbeat of the school for the school play. And I see that falling to the wayside. And I'm was concerned as the pandemic, as so many of my friends who are in the entertainment industry, are out of work and they're sitting at home. And, but I do hope that we're turning the curve, and I hope that we're starting to see things pick up. When you knew things were shutting down, one of the things I'd like to know is, how was that conversation with your children?
Yeah.
How was that conversation as a dad to your children on something which, by the way, you had no idea what it was going to be like? I remind people all the time, it's like a child who comes into foster care. They experience a pandemic every single day, because they don't know what tomorrow brings. So how was that conversation when you sat down, Ethan and your daughter, and said, this is what's going on? Or did they learn it through TikTok?
Um, you know, you know, um, I can't remember when schools were shut down, but it was pretty close to around then, where everyone was told to come and stay at home. And at first, it was because none of us had experience as parents. We've never grown up having to learn what to do in a situation like this. So it was unreal. It was strange to even process as an adult how to handle it. But I have always just felt like when you have your family together and you're able to be there for each other, things will be fine. And so my parents live close by, and so it's just checking on them and having my kids and wife in the home and figuring out what do we do as a family to get through this. And as a business owner and someone who's responsible for a lot of livelihoods with the businesses that we operate, we sit down with them and we first figure out what do we need to do to plan for the immediate outcomes or the immediate consequences from this. And then as time goes by, it becomes about reinvention and reimagination. And this is a great time for us to rethink those ideas that we had kind of put off, that we didn't have time to work on, or that we didn't think were right for right now. And we can take some different kinds of risks. And so you learn to find silver linings, as long as you have health, right? As long as your family has health, and that's number one. But I think that's really what we spent the majority of our time trying to do. And a lot of businesses have been able to thrive because of the pandemic, and I think there are lessons to be learned from that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. And I have to ask you, is your wife a stay-at-home mom?
She teaches preschool, and
Oh,
so she's
so
been like triple masking it, and it's been quite an ordeal for her to continue to teach, because they shut down for a very short period and then reopened.
really?
Yeah, and have been open pretty much the entire time. So um,
She was
but she's
definitely a frontline worker. I mean, our preschools and where I live, I mean, they didn't open long ago, and so it's for her to be out there so other people could work, which, by the way,
yeah.
is so needed. You think about the doctors and the nurses and all of our frontline workers who do have kids and they need to get into work. Who watches their kids? So all of a sudden you had to pivot, and you had to start doing this virtual learning. I really, so for our family, half of my kids loved it. The other half of my kids, nightmare. So, are your kids back in school now?
They're not. They just finished school maybe a week or two ago, so they're on summer break. They both did distance learning the entire time, and I think they both did pretty well. Fortunately for me, I was able to work from home, so I'm around. We're very fortunate that we have good internet, and they are very tech savvy. They have good computers. They were able to get through this, I think, just fine. But I'm very concerned about a lot of folks who didn't have the things that are necessary, someone to help support and teach them and troubleshoot with them, or good enough technology or good enough internet. Definitely very concerned about those folks who I would imagine have really fallen behind because of this.
Yeah, see, you think a lot like I do. There's literally nights I stay up at night, and I think about my kids, but my kids are like your kids. They have really good computers. They have the best
Yeah.
internet service. They have each other, and they're all in such
Yeah.
different grade levels. Even my freshmen in college. But I do think about the boys and girls who are in areas where the internet is, so spotty. And, did we do a disservice, or, by just giving what I would say as a break year? As much as, people might, and I know I'm going to get all the emails and everybody's going to email me about it, but, taking that year, or are we going to continuously play catch up? And then what I'm concerned with, and again, not being political at all, but I feel then we still keep doing this divide of wealth and non-wealth.
Yeah.
And I really I believe that, because I know, for instance, in our home, if my daughter, who's going to be a senior next year, if she had fallen so behind, her dad and I would hire a tutor.
Yeah.
And the tutor would come in and tutor her all summer. And by the time she starts back in September, she's back on track. So many kids, I think, are, I think we're forgetting about that.
Yeah, we won't probably know the impacts for a long time, right, on this generation that had to go through this and who lost a year of, productive schooling. So, there have been a lot of interesting things that have happened, I think, because of the pandemic. I've been really passionate about education, especially in the arts, and I think the whole acceleration of virtual learning, I think there's some exceptional things that are happening in that world that, much higher adoption now because people were forced to try things. And I think much more democratized access to a lot of that education than has ever been. So that stuff is good. I think even just challenging the education models and what is good for us in terms of a learning objective or a learning outcome, and not being so rigid that everything has to be taught in one specific way, one specific format, all kids taught the same way. I think there are some interesting things that have happened that hopefully, again, the kids who went through this, they were guinea pigs for some of that. And, it's unfortunate, but we also have to learn from it. And so how do we do that? And how do we hopefully, should anything like this happen again, we're much more prepared, and, we can help keep our kids, thriving and on the right
Well,
path.
I just hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime. I just want you to know that much. I truly do. I just hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime. Matthew, I want to tell you, as I was doing research to interview you, one of the things that I did was I really surfed the net on dance. And the one thing that I realized is, no matter what country that I looked and dance at, it was almost like the common language, and an example is, I have each one of my kids, in like your children, they're required to take so many years of foreign language, to pass high school. So, I have a son who's taken Chinese. I have a daughter who does American Sign Language, another Spanish. But when it comes to dance, I realize that dance is it's a common language.
Yeah. Yeah. I was not a dancer. Still not a dancer. But my father was an artist, and when I was growing up, he wanted to make a living doing what he loves, and that was he loved illustrating. He loved art glass. And so I remember it'll be 40 years this year that he started his art class business. It was 1981. And so I was 4 years old, and I remember they inherited a very small amount of money that they were able to use to start this business. And right when they were getting to the end of this, the amount of money that they had, business started to pick up, and he has been able to, ever since then, provide for his family as an artist. And that whole process, and just watching that, seeing that as a kid, growing up around my dad and having him teach me about the amazing things that artists get to do, and how excited people are to see the work that he creates, and how art can shape the way that a society looks at things. Art is so important that we support that, and we nurture that in local communities around the world. And dance, of course, is an incredible platform. Dancers are amazing artists, but they're also extremely athletic. It's going to be in the Olympics for the first time in 2024. It's a great platform to bring people together. The first time I went to a World of Dance event, I remember most of the folks that attend World of Dance events, I'd say, are between the ages of 13 and early 20s. Very few parents at the events. It's mostly just the kids. And it is all races, backgrounds, male, female, gay, straight, everything, skinny, like fat, everything that you can imagine is part of this melting pot of America. They're all coming to these dance events. They're all smiling. They're all linking arms. They're all, just so excited to support each other. And that's a really beautiful thing that dance can do. And so for me, it's been, how do we use that and use the platform that we've built to bring more people together, and to hopefully make an impact on not just local communities, but connect the global dance community to get more people doing this, and more people finding common ground, and at a time when we really need it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, there's never been a time more than we really need it. As we're closing up here, a couple of quick things. You got a studio that's opening up in Tokyo in July.
Yes. So, and speaking of that project, we really were excited about this idea of helping to create more jobs for dancers, helping to bring more technology into studios, to connect the studios to folks, to be able to allow them to take classes from home. And so we decided we would experiment with some flagship studios around the world. And so the first one's going to be opening up in Tokyo with an incredible partner there later this summer, hopefully July. Unfortunately, Tokyo is suffering a little bit from some increased COVID cases right now, but we're really excited to have that open up, and be able to use the World of Dance brand to drive dancers of all ages into the studio to take classes, and then to be able to stream those classes to folks who want to take them from home in Japan and around the world.
I love that idea. I love that. So they can go to worldofdance.com and find out all that information.
That's right.
That's awesome. So listen, Matthew, I got a question from one dad to the next. Okay, what are you going to do on Father's Day?
So Father's Day, when I was born, it was on Father's Day. And so I have my birthday and Father's Day usually within a day or two, sometimes on the same day. This year, my birthday is on Saturday. Father's Day is on Sunday. So it's always a special weekend for me, and my kids do an incredible job in making me feel special. And I'll, of course, always go and see my dad and spend quality time with him, and make sure he knows how much I appreciate everything that he's done for me, and just being around family. That's what it's all about.
So your birthday's June 17th.
June 19th.
June 19th. Okay, so you and my daughter's June 17th. So every time it falls on Father's Day, it is her day, even though it's ours. So listen, Matthew, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for enlightening us. Thank you for all that you do for all the people that, really, for me, it's about the arts and bringing it out and how comfortable it is for people to be able to dance. And as you said, anyone can dance, okay? Maybe you and I aren't the best dancers, but any one of us can dance. Listen, all of you can go worldofdance.com, find out more information. Hopefully season 5 we'll be coming sooner than later. I'd love to have you back on, Matthew, once we start finding a date for season 5. And to all our listeners, we all have an opportunity to change. We all have an opportunity to change our world. We have an opportunity to change the way we think. And I truly do believe that if you would open up your heart and maybe just shake just a little, you would be surprised how much dance can make your heart smile. And to me, it's all about making your heart smile. So each and every one of you, I hope you all have an amazing day. Please make sure you share our podcast. For those of you who are subscribing on our YouTube channel, tell your friends about it. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. And again, Matthew, happy Father's Day, my friend.
Same to you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I would like to thank all of you for listening to the Fostering Change podcast. You can subscribe on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Make sure you follow Comfort Cases on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter at Comfort Cases. Check out the Fostering Change blog at comfortcases.org. And I know some of you have a question, and I know some of you would love to be a guest. Please personally reach out to me at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. That's fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Then do me a big favor. Please help spread the word. Share this podcast. Share it with your friends and your family. Remember, I say this quite often, we're all part of the same community. And that community, it's not our zip code, but our human race. Let's all make a difference.